Putting your hand out of the window of your moving car, feeling your ears pop as you're driving up and down a mountain, what do these two things have in common? Air pressure. Have you ever been sitting in a plane and you wondered yourself, how does the pilot know how fast we're going? Or how does he know how high up in the air we are? Hi, I'm Sean, and today I'm going to explain to you the pitot system on an aircraft. I'm going to be showing you this pitot probe on a C-130J. I'll explain to you the inputs that it receives, and I'll finish off by explaining how the pilot uses those inputs when flying the aircraft. So let me begin by showing you one of the pitot probes on this C-130. Here is one of the pitot probes. There's 4 of them on this plane, and all the information is used and averaged to give the pilot a more accurate reading of the indication that it's going to receive. On each probe, and in the very tip, there's a hole in the front, and this allows pitot pressure to enter in through it. On the underside of it, there's 3 smaller holes, as you can see there, that's going to allow static pressure to enter in through the probe. There's also a heater that will heat up the pitot probe to melt any ice that could build up during flight in high altitudes. On the back side of the probe, there's flexible hoses that will route the air to different computers that can turn the signal digital, and also to standby indicators for use by the pilots. After the plane lands off the ground, it's important to put the cover back onto the pitot probe to prevent anything from coming into the static port and blocking it, like bugs or anything else that could possibly block it and cause the system to be faulty. So now that you know what the pitot probe looks like, where they're located, I'll explain to you what the inputs are that it receives. There are 2 inputs that the pitot probes receive, and it says it right in the name, pitot and static. Pitot pressure is also known as ram air pressure, and that's the air that goes into the front of the probe and is forced into the front of the probe as the plane is moving forward. The same way that you put your hand out of the car when you're driving down the street, that air pressure that you feel hitting your hand, that's pitot pressure, that's ram air pressure. And that's how we measure airspeed. The second pressure that the pitot system uses is static pressure. And static pressure is defined as the weight of air molecules, usually measured in inches of mercury by a barometer, by an article titled Pitot System on the defineaviation.info/pitot system website. The same way that there's more pressure felt as you go deeper into the water on your ears, the same way as it affects you when you're above ground and out of the water. There's more pressure as you get closer to the ground. There's more air molecules that are pushing down on you. And that's called atmospheric pressure. It's all the same thing. So the higher that you go up into the air, there's less pressure on you. That's why when you're flying up, you feel your ears pop, because the pressure is being relieved off of your eardrums. And when you're coming back down, more pressure builds back onto it, and that's, again, your ears will pop. The same way as you're driving up a mountain or driving down a mountain. So now that you know the inputs that the probes receive, I'd like to explain to you how these pilots use this information to help fly the aircraft. The pitot pressure, after it's routed through the pitot probe and through the flexible hoses, it can either go to a computer, which will then take that raw information and turn it into a digital signal, and it can get displayed onto an HDD, which we have right here, HDDs, or it can also get displayed on a overhead unit, a HUD. The last place that it can go is to a standby indicator, like so. So the pitot pressure is going to go and it's going to affect our indicated airspeed, which is right here, and it's measured in knots. So as soon as the aircraft starts moving forward, air pressure enters in through the front of the probe, and that air gets pushed through all the way to the indicator, moving that indicator marker. The second pressure is static pressure, and that will get routed all the same way through a computer to displayed on electronically, but on the standby indicator it's going to give us our altitude. And right here we have an altimeter, and as the different atmospheric pressure changes as we go up and down into the atmosphere, this needle right here will go up and down to display how much pressure we have, and it's calibrated internally to give us the correct altitude. Overall, the pitot system is one of the most important systems on the aircraft, and it's extremely important to keep the plane safe while in the air. Understanding the pitot system is quite simple, as I have shown you today. So the next time that you board an aircraft, hopefully you'll be able to recall some of these very important facts. I explained to you and I showed you where the pitot probe is and where it's located. I explained to you the inputs that it receives, and I lastly and more importantly showed you how the pilots use this information when they're flying. Hopefully you've gained some new knowledge. Thank you for listening to my speech. Have a good day.